everyone, and great to see you join us today in this very exciting session. My name is Himanshu, and I represent Speakin. Our very special guest for today is Mr. Gaurav Chatur, co-founder and MD at Catanon APAC. Before we move on to the session, just a very quick introduction about Gaurav, so that we get to know him better and can expect what he is going to talk about in this session. So Gaurav is a co-founder and managing director for Asia Pacific at Catanon and has deep experience in human capital, working with marquee clients across industries. Gaurav comes with management consulting experience at Cognizant Business Consulting, where he consulted clients across insurance, technology, healthcare, and life science verticals in the US. And also, during his stint at Cognizant, he was very closely involved with the McKinsey Group in implementing an operational excellence initiative across the organization. He's also worked with Infosys in the past, and he's an alumnus of the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, and also has a bachelor's degree in electronics and telecommunications engineering. Gaurav is also a sportsman and has been an avid cricketer in club, college, and corporate circuits. He's regular at football and tennis. Gaurav has keen interest in policy, geopolitics, economics, and future of work, and his articles have featured in leading publications. I don't know how he gets the time to do all this while at the same time working fantastically in an organization. But thank you so much, Gaurav, for joining us today. It is an absolute pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks, Himanshu. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. So moving, I mean, these are very weird times. These are very strange times, and there are a lot of questions across industries with respect to everything and anything that you can possibly imagine. So one of the biggest issues that has come into the picture during these times is actually hiring. So this entire session is actually about the same, and so jumping right into the discussion, I think we can start about Gaurav's thoughts. So Gaurav, what according to you during the current times is the hiring landscape? You can talk about in terms of employees as well as in terms of hiring of executives, including CXOs and board members, etc.
Right. So first, let me give you an industry overview. Not many industries are hiring. If I look at across the broad spectrum of industries, of course, traditional industries have taken a big brunt of the crisis. When I say traditional industries, your automotive, engineering, manufacturing as a whole, and so on. Some industries have benefited, and these include technology. There's a lot of emphasis on digital connectivity, consumer technology in particular.
Right.
Edu tech would stand out, right? Then life sciences, healthcare in general has gotten a big boost. Agriculture is looking up. So is consumer goods, especially the FMCG piece, not the FMCD, high involvement purchases. Very shortly or very already we are seeing great signs in automotive or some sort of recovery owing to the physical distancing that people now want to maintain. So everybody now again wants to buy a car. So for the longest time, the notion was that the Indian middle class has bought all its cars. So the automotive will face a slowdown, but I think one, the Indian middle class is growing. Two, they will want to now own a vehicle and keep distance. However, those sectors will still see slow growth in terms of hiring.
Okay.
Now, in terms of, in particular, executive hiring, I think within the sectors that I talked about, the technology sectors are seeing a lot of movement at the senior levels, and these are typically roles like CFO or CBO or head of product and so on, where a lot of early and late stage startups realize that for the next quantum jump, they would require these people on board.
Understood. Very interesting, and actually great to know that there are some industries out there which are actually actively hiring people, not just not just the employees, but also the executives across the board. So moving on to our next question that I have for you. So while absolutely, on one hand, there is a spike in the number of unemployed due to the ongoing economic crisis. There have been layoffs, people have been, let go of, they have been requested to take unpaid leaves and all that stuff. At the same time, the recruiters are also finding it increasingly difficult to hire the right talent. So while on one hand we have unemployed people, on the other hand we have recruiters who are, finding it difficult to hire the right people. How would you actually explain this dichotomy?
Absolutely. So this is happening now. A core reason for this is a lot of people are wary to change jobs within this scenario, and the same people, or let's first understand who is losing jobs and who is really in high demand. So a lot of you would have heard, there's a lot of press already on this, that IT services is under pressure. Yeah, so traditional jobs of say a project manager or a testing person with little hands-on technical experience are becoming obsolete. This is one example. Also, a lot of salespeople who are field salespeople are going to feel the pinch, because there's only so much field sales that you can do in many of the organized industries, especially the B2B industry. B2C still has an element of actually, going and meeting distributors or the retail, channels. So these are the guys who are losing jobs. And let's also understand who are going to be in high demand, and actually so anybody who has a digital footprint, be it digital marketing, product, engineering. All of these guys are going to feel are going to have multiple approaches. Now, many people are wary in the middle of all of this to look at different options, because one, relocation is out of question. So unless the company is sort of willing to let the person work from wherever they are, this is not going to happen, right? Two, people are wary also of job securities. So either they are unfortunate enough to have been let go by their current employers, and therefore job security is obviously something that they closely relate to, or they have witnessed this happening in with friends and family, and therefore they don't want to be jumping ship in the middle of a storm and be caught on the wrong side of decisions.
Right.
So it does require a little bit of convincing, and we're seeing a lot of that to make people switch in these times.
No, very well answered. So, I mean, I think this pretty much explains why there is a situation that we are seeing right now with so much of talent available, and at the same time, organizations facing difficulty in hiring the right people. Moving on to our next and a very important question. So, if we see from the perspective of a recruiter, what do you think? I mean, there are a lot of challenges out there already, but what do you think there are the top three biggest challenges that organizations are facing at the moment in terms of recruiting the right people? And also, you mentioned about some of the industries which are very actively hiring, and which are looking for talent across different roles. Are there also any industries where which are facing problems with terms of hiring, which are seeing a lot of people being a lot of I would say problems in terms of hiring the right talent?
Sure. So if I understand you correctly, you want to know what are the main challenges recruiters are facing in getting people on board, and which industries are primarily facing these
I mean,
challenges.
I mean, let me just rephrase it. I'm so sorry, it wasn't clear the first time. So one is, I want to know that the three
Hello.
biggest challenges that the organizations are facing in terms of recruitment, and at the same time, which are the industries which are facing these three big challenges the most.
Yeah. So one we've already discussed. Getting anybody to jump ships in the middle of this. Second is, especially for the tech industry, I'm going to highlight this. Since a lot of new tech, digital companies have also let go of people en masse. For them to be able to attract the people from consumer or other businesses is becoming a challenge, because again, these are seen as more risky businesses, which are happy to hire and fire in large numbers. And the third is, of course, a lot of people don't know what to hire for. Why do I say that? Traditional businesses are suddenly realize that digital is not an option. It's a must. It's not a side project that was run by a innovation department within the company. Now it's become mainstream. It's going to be your principal source of revenue. But since they've never paid attention to what was really needed in digital, they are now grappling to put around even a JD. So first they need to appreciate the whole digital space and what it can do for them, and then allocate enough resources to ensure that they've created the ecosystem for the company to be taken digital. So that's a big challenge. So I think I've covered the second question also with that, so different industries
Absolutely.
are obviously facing different issues, but these are coming to the fore quite often.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. My next question to you is, these days the buzzword is remote working. Everyone is talking about work from home, remote working, not being able to go to the office, and working in silos and all that stuff. One of the, I would say it's a lesser known cousin of remote working is remote management. So right from interviews to induction, the entire process of hiring has actually become, completely non-personal. Interviews are happening on first on phone, and then maybe if things proceed, then on video chat, and eventually the entire induction process is happening separately. The team is sitting somewhere else, and the candidate is sitting somewhere else. So even during these times, how can organizations actually I would say hit the bullseye in terms of getting the right people on board, selection of the right candidate for the job that they are looking for?
Right. So it's very interesting. We've been doing video interviews since last 15 years. And we've been presenting candidates to our clients with video interviews for last 15 years. So this is not a new space for us. But what comes to my mind as the most important criteria, not just now, but in any time, is really empathy. Very few companies, recruiters, are able to really relate to what the candidate must be thinking, and how does the recruitment process look like for the candidate. I think this becomes exceedingly important in this whole remote recruitment experience. You're not seeing the candidate, or you may just see him in a small frame on your computer, just like we are seeing each other right now. But can you, even in this situation, read the verbal, non-verbal signals, understand intelligently what the candidate must be perceiving, and ensure that the experience is really personable. A lot of companies fail at this in regular times. So obviously this is going to be aggravated in these times. So foremost cornerstone of great recruitment in these times, and this is going to last, right? We can't wish this away. We can hope for a vaccine, but we can't wish it away. So this is going to last. So I think increased empathy in recruitment is extremely important.
Okay. Fantastic. So increased empathy in recruitment. So that's a very important point in there, because a lot of organizations probably during these times have become very unempathetic. So
I would like to also add something.
Yes.
Very often, or very easily, recruitment has been slotted as an HR function, which it is not. And I think one needs to call it out very clearly now that people are anyways working in remote teams. Recruitment is a business function, and HR is a facilitator. So business needs to understand this, allocate resources, and essentially make time to do recruitment. If they cannot do it in this situation, they are going to stand this thing. So this bears more importance in these times, because business has to specify what needs to be recruited. Even the best of HRs will struggle to define what a business need is. And this is not to say that the human resources does not have an appreciation of the business. It's just that the business does the business. And really, what is the job of a CEO? Number one thing is to recruit people. Number two is to make sure whoever is recruited is successful.
Right.
Yeah. So business has to dedicate time for recruitment, and more so in these times, to ensure that the requirements are clearly understood when people are not working in one office.
Fantastic, fantastic. A very important point there indeed. So, moving on, I mean, given the current times, there are obviously limited resources that a company has, that an organization has. On top of that, then there are issues like salary cuts, and we are obviously, we are working remotely. So, how does an organization during, these times make a decision to actually, go ahead and hire someone? I mean, what's the right time for an organization to make the decision that, okay, now's the time that I'm going to look out for new people? When do they make this decision?
Right. I think you ask a very important question, and uncover another big flaw in recruitment. Here is let me spell it out. Most organizations do tactical recruitment, or what I like to call as band-aid recruitment. So, which means they are trying to apply a patch to something that's broken. Smart organizations, and there are a few, do strategic recruitment, where they've understood well in advance what is going to be required. They've defined those requirements. They've analyzed what skills and competencies would be needed, checked internally whether those skills and competencies and aspirations of people align, and therefore they can have an internal person, and then gone externally and recruited, keeping in mind not just keeping in mind actually never short-term value, always mid-term value and long-term value. Tactical, or what I call as band-aid recruitment, is always aimed at short-term value, and therefore has an inherent problem that it is going to always create future problems, right? Because it's not well thought of.
Okay.
You're recruiting in a hurry. You're looking at copycat candidates. You're not looking at real value, and so many other reasons. But it's bound to happen. Now, why is it bound to happen? Because I mean, this concept has been beaten to death, but business as we knew has changed. So a lot of things are going to be driven by contingency measures. What can organization do in these times is still take a midterm view of what will you do with the person that you hire now. And if you don't have an answer to what can you do with a person, say 2 years down the line or a year down the line, then you can always opt for interim hires. These could be specialists who come in for a purpose, who are really experts at in their field, where the commitment and expectation is for a short term, for a critical function impact KRA, and then 1 year or so down the line, when you come to the end of the road, you can take a call whether you want to extend the assignment or whether you want to just shake hands and let go. And even if that means paying a premium for these people, I think it's worth it.
Okay. So it's actually a very, I mean, it is actually a very valid point. Just wanted to follow up this with one short question. So whatever you are mentioning about planning the recruitment process, is this applicable for organizations or businesses of all scale?
It's absolutely applicable for all sizes of businesses. Again, why? It ties back to what I said earlier. If recruitment is looked at as a HR function, then the strategic nature of recruitment disappears.
Right.
The most mature companies, of course, engage with talent way before in time, before they need them, right? So your talent is already warmed up to an approach. They are waiting for you to one day say, why don't you guys come and speak to us and see if we can work things out. So there, it's not you don't need to sell the organization. The organization is already sold. So the whole employer branding piece is something that companies underestimate, and is going to become so much more important in the digital world. and of course, ties back to also the empathy piece, where you look at the whole recruitment from the standpoint of the candidate.
Right, right. Oh, fantastic. I think one of our attendees has a question regarding something that they've missed earlier. So, Tushar, I would like you to I would like to inform you that the section that you've missed, you can always go and look at the Facebook, or you will look at the YouTube video of this session that will be uploaded there very soon, and catch up with anything that you've probably missed. So, okay, moving on to the next question. Of course, you belong to an organization which is involved in searching and hiring the right talent and recruitment of not just people for for a kind of what I can say some junior roles, but also the executives. So would you like to suggest if there are any available solutions for organizations, be it in terms of technology, be it in terms of strategizing or any other tools, to assist them in their hiring process during these current times?
Hi, the network.
Okay. So did you get the question that
No,
I?
I didn't.
Okay. I'll repeat the question for you. So what I wanted to know that given the current times, are there any tools, special tools available for organizations? Be it maybe technological tools, some softwares, or maybe even some agencies to which organizations can actually reach out, and maybe they can assist them in streamlining and better planning the entire recruitment process.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think looking at your recruitment process again is a good idea, and taking an external help to look at that process is again a fantastic idea. There are a lot of HR consulting firms. We also do some consulting around talent and talent intelligence.
Okay.
So which means understanding talent before you hire, before you make your plans to hire. But we also do advise companies on process reengineering, really, of their recruitment. Now, I don't. Of course, there are a host of other companies that also do it. I think the time is right to do this, simply because you can not only optimize for recruitment in normal times, but you can also optimize now for recruitment in digital times. And this will bear a lot of fruits. See, the opportunity cost of not getting the right candidate for even one role far outweighs any investment that you make in improving process. So I think there's a case for it. It's a brilliant point that you make, actually.
Okay, great to hear your thoughts on this. Of course, there are definitely some tools available which people can go, and certainly technology is one of
Absolutely, there are a host of tools. There are a host of tools, and I think companies must embrace these tools and embrace newer ways of analyzing candidate profiles.
Understood. Moving on to a very, maybe towards the side of the candidate, if I may ask, during the current times, and this is probably going to be more relevant for the candidates who are, looking for, getting the right job. What during the current times makes a candidate ideal or perfect for hiring?
Right. So a manager. So we work at senior levels, right? Mid management to senior management, and I think one of the critical aspects right now is the ability to manage remotely. I think you alluded to that, but it's not just for recruitment; it's for any function. To be able to influence people when you are in a room with with your personality, etc., is easier. When you're face to face. To understand what people may be going through, to engage with them remotely, to coordinate, to ensure objectives are still done, and to have trust overall. And trust is a two-way thing, right? Two-way connection. Right. A lot of times you expect a lot of trust, but I think that is going to be the most important criteria to recruit. Of course, what doesn't reduce in importance, and while it may be not relevant in certain industries, is the ability to work with digital tools. A lot of folks in traditional industries struggle with working with digital tools. They must, for them their own longevity, embrace these tools. There is no escaping all sorts of collaboration tools, digital tools. One must give up the notion that I need everybody in a room to be able to function properly.
Okay. Oh, no, that is actually very relevant. So essentially, do you also believe that, probably right now is also the correct time for some of the folks who are, associated with more or less traditional roles where technology has had a very little role to play, to now maybe upskill themselves and, learn and impart new skills to better their chances of getting hired? Or
100%.
okay.
Absolutely 100%. And the surprising thing is, this applies, more prominently to the IT services industry.
Oh, okay.
So there are about I think 1 million people in the IT services industry who are technologically irrelevant today. For them to upskill themselves technologically has become so much more important. And there are plenty of opportunities. I think if you sort of view how many openings are there for technology folks right now, which go unfulfilled because you don't have the caliber of people required, it's staggering. And companies are sort of vying for the same small pool of tech experts. The world is going to need far more, and see, no business is going to be separate from technology. All businesses are going to have technology as an integral element. So if these people are able to scale themselves, upskill themselves, like you rightly put, technology is going to be very, very important. And apart from this, of course, across industries, there is no option but to be very, very comfortable. And so for example, there is no option but to use a CRM. There is no option but to use a ERP. And more so now when the world is not able to meet face to face.
That's a very valid point that you made. Upskilling and embracing technology is the way to go. So moving on to my next question, and it's a bit off from the entire hiring thing and more about the existing talent that you have. What should the organizations do? I mean, right now, a lot of people within the organizations are also, not very sure what the future of the organization is going to look like. They are very uncertain because there is not enough communication happening between the between the managers and the people working under them. There is a very less communication between the teams, and coordination is certainly an issue. So what steps can an organization actually take to retain the talent that they already have, so that they actually do not lose out on some very good and very integral people that have made their organization successful?
Very age-old wisdom. I think I applied at my workplace. I think it's applicable across. One, people appreciate honesty. Business may go through ups and downs, may have rough weather. Measures may need to be taken for preservation of the business, of costs and things like that. But people are going to see. You cannot expect an employee, an intelligent being, to be intelligent when you want them to be intelligent, and not to be intelligent otherwise. Right? They are going to interpret, perceive every single thing that's said and not said. Now, when you understand this, the best thing to actually do is to communicate honestly what is going on and what you intend to do in the future. If that is communicated, I think you'll have the best buying. Let's face it, some people will optimize for themselves and will seek better options otherwise, but at least will will go out with a notion, okay, this place was honest, was genuine to my concerns, was empathetic to my presence, and the challenges that I would have been facing. So it ties in again to everything, including employer branding and future hiring or rehiring. You never know; these people may just come back.
Okay. So is there also I mean this is empathy and all these core values that you've mentioned about the organization are certainly age-old wisdom. Do you also see any increased role of the HR department in terms of retention of the talent, and maybe what is it that maybe the HR at an organization can do?
Pick the pulse of the organization, right? And that does not necessarily means always conduct 360 degrees and employee pulse, but also speak to managers. Managers team leads who work closely with their teams, understand what's going on. It just does not percolate to levels it should percolate to. Aggregate that information. Don't be under assumptions. A lot of management is driven by hypothesis, and they are too keen to drive their hypothesis only as the actual outcome. But the reality may be different, and it does not require you to force your agenda on the team, right? The team can tell you what they are feeling, and doesn't have to necessarily alter a lot of course, but at least hearing them out will help. So the HR needs to get the pulse of the organization on a regular basis and speak to people. I think everybody, including managers, they need to speak to their teams, understand what's going on, ask people to come out with issues, challenges, which they may not openly sort of cite to everybody.
That is actually that's actually bang on. Maybe the right function, the right role for HR during these times is to actually know the pulse of the organization. So very well put. As we are also running out of time, so I think I can take one more question that that we have at the moment, that I have at the moment, is so a lot of candidates, especially in the senior management positions, actually base their decision to join any particular organization or any particular company on the basis of the company culture. So what according to you is the idea of what according to you is the ideal company culture that organizations during these times should have, so that they attract this talent, so that these people can come on board and join these organizations. What is the correct company culture?
I think my answer is going to be not too different from what I've said before. There's no ideal, there's no one size fits all, right? What do I mean by that? A tech startup will have a very fast-paced organization, quick decision making, action orientation, all of those things, but also frightening pace of work, right? Which somebody from a traditional organization, very large global MNC, where decisions are made in annual operating plans and executed through the year, and then if a new decision needs to be taken, it will be taken next year, and both work very well for both organizations. So there is nothing wrong in this, but alongside all of this, I think just being able to appreciate the problems, the challenges that the other human being is going to be facing, and being accommodating for that. That is the company. That culture, I think, will result in both stickiness as well as attracting new candidates. Of course, the way people operate will be different across industries. Some industries, like the pharma industry or the hospital industry, right now is under tremendous stress. I mean, one may think that those industries are doing well, but hey, you know what? Some people are working 16 hours a day for the last 4 months, and it's extremely stressful. So all they expect, is no further stress, people-related stress. So if there is one common thread across all companies, I would say, is reduction in people-related stress. I think that's a very attractive cultural attribute.
Okay, okay. So that is actually a very important cultural attribute, as you rightly mentioned. We have Jogendra Singh has a question, and he asks that, what are the three most important questions to be asked or assessed while interviewing a candidate for senior decision maker or executive role, for example, a CEO.
Right, right. That's a very interesting one. I think what you want to know is how the person will perform in the role. You've pre-qualified by the time a person comes for an interview, you've pre-qualified the person on the basis of experience, on the basis of functions, the size of the function or the projects that the person has executed, and so on. So what would you really want to know? How is a person going to actually work, or what is the closest proxy of how a person will actually work? So the way I would evaluate is give a scenario which highlights or which brings out how a person would respond to a business situation, or and how a person would respond in a behavioral situation. So those would tell me whether the person is going to be a person who will fit in the role, and the second would be a good leader or not. If a person can perform a function in one dimension very well, but not be a good leader, then I think it's a failure, and vice versa. So, and I think any question beyond this which dispels confirmation bias is a very important one. Recruitment is a function in which you tend to fall in love with your hypothesis, and you tend to ask a lot of questions that confirm your hypothesis. Try being conscious about this, and therefore ask questions which are going to challenge your hypothesis, not confirm it. So there are many biases that plague human mind. We aren't as intelligent species as we think we are, but we are intelligent also to put structure around it and understand there are biases in existence. So one of the main bias is confirmation bias. Try avoiding it.
Okay. Okay. So I really hope this question, this answer was helpful, Mr. Singh. So I guess I think we can stop the interview now. We are already past our time. So thank you so much, Gaurav, for the wonderful and the fantastic insights that you have shared with us. To all the attendees here, if you've missed any particular section, if you want to rewatch it, you can always find this video available on YouTube. It will be available shortly there. And do check out Gaurav's profile. Do check out his LinkedIn profile. He is doing some fantastic work, and is regularly being featured in a lot of very interesting articles. So do check him out. And as always, keep listening to Speakin, and have a fantastic evening ahead. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gaurav.
Thanks, Himanshu, for having me.